Veteran Services to order. Okay,
I'll second that.
so moved. So, got it, okay. So, the main purpose of tonight's meeting is to focus on the inputs to the employment opportunity or job document that everyone was so kind to give input into. You know, what we had agreed at our last meeting was to review using Karen's hiring document and updating it, putting input and having a black line and a clean version so that everyone can review it, ultimately having it as a tool for our use. So with that, I think the main focus of this evening, knowing that there is a Patriots game tonight, is to dig into the document and talk about its contents and any edits or additions or subtractions that the board would like to move forward on. So do I have a motion to discuss the document, the new employment opportunity document?
Michael, I don't think we need a motion to discuss it.
Okay.
All right.
Just said.
Yeah, it's on the agenda, so I think we can just discuss.
So I'll kick it off. The input was terrific. I think it really does granularly discuss what the role is, but maybe the best way to get this going is, Karen, what did you think? Are there things in there day to day that we missed? Are there things out there that we overstated? Maybe this is the best way to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good job description. I know that there was the question about the let's see, about the funerals and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my note, because the job description talks about you assisting with local funeral homes, but I was curious what happens in the event, you know, a local veteran, you know, passes away down in Florida, for example. What's your involvement with the funeral process in that instance?
You know, I'm the funeral director. So when a veteran passes away, the funeral director is really the one that takes the lead in
Right.
everything. They're the one that sets everything up. They're, you know, they speak with the cemetery. They speak with get military honors and stuff like that. So they take care of everything. I'm just there if they have any questions, or if they're unable to get a DD 214 quickly, and then, you know, I can either look at the database that I have, or if there's somebody, you know, we do have a lot of the DD 214s in the office. But you know, I haven't had anybody from the only situation I had from a veteran who is out of state was Sergeant Blaisdell, who's the one that passed away with no next of kin, got shipped up here. So, you know, it's not something that comes up a lot, actually.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody else had any questions on that. I guess the way that this particular bullet point is written, I mean, that's pretty much what you do. You work with the funeral homes and cemeteries to ensure that the communities are in compliance with state law and policies, right? So I guess we can leave it as it is. I was just wondering, you know, what happens with what's your involvement? Is there anything that we need to put in this job description that would impact, you know, somebody passing away out of state? But I think you just answered it, at least for me.
Yeah.
I just went, and listen, personally, I just went through this with my father. He received full military honors, but it was the funeral home who coordinated with the local. It was actually the appropriate service branch for his honors and ceremony. So it we did talk to the VSO where the cemetery was, but it really was the local funeral director.
So again, I think, at least speaking for myself, we could just leave that the way it is, and we'll
Yeah.
remove that highlighted note.
Right, right. Okay. Are there any other areas that the rest of the board would like to discuss? I know, there was one point at the beginning of the document about the salary range. And, maybe that's a good way just to start there and work down the bracketed discussion points. We had discussed at our last meeting, 65 to 75 with, a higher range, for appropriate people. But, there was a comment or two about bumping that range a little higher. I think part of that was driven by, it's difficult to get people, across the board. Does the board have any thoughts on the salary? The salary,
I think, excuse me, Mr. Chair, if I may,
of course. Doug,
I think that the salary range, the expected hiring salary range is more than adequate. Okay, we can talk about the, maybe the top end. Hello,
okay, we hear you, Doug.
well, all of a sudden you went off the screen and whoever's on the phone came on.
Okay,
So anyhow, we can talk about a top salary, like a cap. As I don't know what's going on with Ron's phone. Can you hear me?
When anybody makes a noise, they cut in. So that's what
Then
happens.
I would, if I might, I would suggest that while somebody's speaking, everybody else go on mute. So anyhow, to reiterate what I said, the anticipated hiring salary is fine between $65,000 and $75,000. Then we can discuss the, let's say, the top end, which can be 75 to 85 or whatever. And we all know that's a moving target, and hopefully we'll have somebody here. But I don't think we should be going any higher than we're already paying. Because that's what we're already paying right now is more than enough for that position. I'm done.
Mike, may I?
Please.
Do we have, if I missed it, I apologize, but do we have like a survey of salaries for VSOs in the area? We may have done this a while back. But I don't know if we have a current one.
I haven't seen one, Linda, but I guess, Karen, based on your perspective, what is the range? I've seen some government jobs in Western Mass be much lower and Eastern Mass much higher. What's your perspective on this range? What is your feeling from talking to the other VSO?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Doug.
I had sent you the job description, the hiring job description for the job that Karen applied for. And the ranges that they stated for a expected hiring range, and then a top end of the salary was on that. And that follows with what we have on this sheet. To somewhat, I believe the top end on the one that Karen applied for was 87. We have 77 to 82. But that would suggest that we go from 75 to 85 on that for the top end.
How does the rest of the board feel about that?
Okay, can I, if I may, Mr. Chair?
Please.
I believe that I'm the one that threw in there I think I put in 70, I forget, let me pull it up. Hang on a second. Yeah, the discussed range of 77 to 82 was something that I forwarded to you. And what I did was I just looked at what Karen's current salary is right now. I believe it's 84 and some change. And that's where I came up with that number, because I do feel as though, we do have to be careful about approaching it too low and not getting good candidates. That was my only concern. And even if we give the candidate the high end of that at 82, it would still leave room for improvement later on in the contract as years go by.
So my question on this document is that what we're gonna advertise, or should we say something in the, if this job description is going to be part of the advertisement, then would we want to say something like salary commensurate with experience, or do we want to put an actual range in the advertisement?
I would think that you'd put some type of a range so that the people know. It's not an open end. And
Okay.
can you guys hear me? Because Sherry David's showing up on the phone. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. So anyhow, I believe that putting in an expected hiring salary or range is good. Or you could say up to 75,000. If you say up to 75,000, then they're going to want 75,000. So if we put a range in from 65 to 75, I mean, excuse me, 65 to 75, then at least they know what to expect in the hiring. And then from there, it progresses based on their ability and performance. That's after they've been hired. Over.
Any other discussion on the range? I know, so there's two ranges here, 65 to 75, and then I think it was Danny, yours was 77 to 82, which was sort of a little pivot on Karen's current salary.
So for, I know you mentioned the job posting that Lexington had. So they did end up going higher than, their highest range. But also to compare that, so theirs is 3 towns where ours is 6 towns. And I understand that the population is somewhat similar. They have, I think, their population is a little bit larger, but the thing is, it's not the number of people, it's the number of towns that are twice as much. So when doing like an outreach or a benefit seminar or something like that, when you have, like 6 towns, I would do 6 different seminars, or you're doing 6 different office hours. You're also dealing with 6 different treasurers. Well, Karen knows that all of her chapter 115 she's doing 6 times versus 3 times, and so that's a big difference between the number of towns and the amount of work. I'm just throwing that up there. Something to.
No,
And
that may well be the
check
document. I'm sorry, who's this?
Oh, go ahead, Doug.
Was that you trying or Sherry? Okay, I'll go ahead. So the document was for reference only. I don't care what they're paying Karen to go there. I was just looking at the document as a reference and a guideline for us. And I believe that having expected starting range of 65 to 75 is fine. We all know that people are going to negotiate, and that's where we come in from that. But we got to know that this too. So this is just a formality, really. It isn't a matter of how many towns there are, or how many veterans there are, or how many town treasurers there are. This is a matter of somebody that's going to take this job already knows what they're walking into as far as to be a VSO, because they'll probably have tons of military experience, or they may have other VSO experience, or they may have other veterans experience. So this is just a formality for the ad going out, so people know, okay, this is what to expect.
So if I may, Mike, I just want to, I was just doing a little bit of calculation here. I was looking at hourly rates, and we just brought Karen Bell's hourly rate up significantly. And I think that the director of veteran services hourly rate should be somewhat significantly higher than that. And if we're talking about a salary of 65,000, that's really not too much higher when you figure out 40 hours a week, right? So I'm inclined to have a higher starting salary range, like what Dana, I think it was Dana was suggesting. So I think we should probably look at that too. Just a thought, food for thought.
We have a range to add on to you, Linda. We have a range listed as 65 to 75.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go forward, when we get candidates, they all know that the range is going to be someplace between 65 and 75. Based and depending on if you get someone that's brand new, has no veterans experience, and you're considering them, then you're going to look at that 65,000. And if they have, you know, other attributes that might command a higher salary, then you move further up into that 75. If it comes down to it, and you have somebody that you want, and they're gonna say, no, I can't do it for 75. Well, then you can negotiate with them. But we're just looking at a formality for putting in a hiring salary range. I think most people understand that it's all a matter of negotiations after you've got your finalist. Over.
Any other thoughts on salary?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I was looking at all these Word documents and I wasn't looking at you guys, but I know that it's kind of a couple things. Her original, the one that she got hired under, and I'm sorry, Karen got hired under, said something about, now I can't find it. But it had something about, there was a benefit thing in there or something. And then my other point was, Karen, your original contract, I don't even know if it's a contract or not, but were you on for 34 hours a week or 40 hours a week? Because we're now asking for 40 hours a week. Is that what your original, is that what you're doing now? Or is that 6 more hours than what you're doing now? I can't hear you.
It's 35 hours a week.
Yeah. So
Mondays from 8 to 7, Tuesday through Thursday, 8 to 4, and then Fridays from 8 to noon.
yeah,
So
I think that I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think that should definitely be a consideration, because we're advertising 40 hours a week. That's 5 more hours a week. And when you're talking a salary, you're not talking an hourly rate, you're talking a salary. So, you know, I'm not saying one way or another. I agree. Once we get into the negotiation phase, we can certainly negotiate what the salary is going to be. But I think that adding the additional hours per week and having a cap, I'm not so sure that we want to advertise a cap of 75. That's all. I got a little bit of a problem with that.
And I did change, I thought the 35 was a typo, but correct me if I'm wrong, at least in Essex, we hire people for 40 hours a week. Was the 35 just a negotiated thing, Karen, or where did that come from? Was that just what you felt was appropriate? Was it what the last VSO did? Where did 35 hours a week come from? Maybe that's the basic question.
That's what the city of Newton. I used to work for the city of Newton like in 2007. I don't know where that came from. So no, that's what the town of Ipswich, that's what the town hall is open. That's what the employees are scheduled for. So it's following what the town hall is.
I'm fine with listing 35 hours if it makes, mathematically, because there's a mathematical calculation here. How does the rest of the board feel?
Well, if that's how that's how long town halls are open, that's how long they work.
Yeah, I think that is what most of the town hall employees work in Ipswich.
Okay.
Okay, so
as
that
to salary,
calculate.
do we want to keep this range as a board? Do we want to split someplace in the difference? Do we want to broaden the range? Again, I look for input.
I think I might suggest that we have starting range of between 70 and 75. I think we want to attract really good qualified candidates. So I think that kind of meets this in the middle. Instead of having a $10,000 opening range, why don't we cut it to 5,000 and have 70 to 75?
How does the rest of the board feel about that?
Well, I just think we're splitting hairs, with all respect. To go 65 or 67 to whatever is more than adequate. And the people who know that are applying, they'll know that they can negotiate. And, anybody with any savvy will know that they can negotiate. So I don't think that we should make it, too tight of a range.
Okay.
I think to say 65 to 75 or whatever that number is fine. It's a good broad range, and people can see themselves falling into it.
Hey, Mike, if you look, I looked up the top 10 VSO positions in Massachusetts, and the 65 to 75,000 range is actually where it is. And the average high-end pay is 70,000 a year in Massachusetts for a VSO. The low end is 54,000 in Lowell. I mean, so I concur with what Doug had said. I think the range of 65 to 75 puts it where the rest of the VSO positions are in the state. And again, I understand everything that Karen said, and I totally agree with that. But I think at the end of the day, if you find a great candidate, like Doug said, and I think internally for ourselves, if we say amongst us, hey, look, the highest we'll ever go is 82. We're going to put a 65 to 75 range in there. We'll get the candidates in, we'll do the interviews. And if we love somebody and say we really want that person, and it takes us 77,000 to get that person, then we just say, you got it. And then we just go from there. So I think the 65 to 75 range is exactly what the rest of the VSOs look like in the state of Massachusetts.
Okay. Dana, how do you feel about that?
I think that was very well said. I think that if you can only work 35 hours a week, I think we ought to change the 40 to 35 though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make that edit in the new document.
Mr. Chair, may I just as a point of information,
Of
we
course.
have not sent out an ad for the position yet, have we?
No, Doug, this was,
Okay,
this is the gating element. We wanted to make sure that everyone's in agreement with what we were asking for, that it was correctly represented. The goal would be to, have an agreed upon document by the end of this call. Tim Zessen does owe me a call back, but, aside from that, use a agreed upon document, through, with the help of Ipswich's HR coordinator, to start getting this posted and out there, but once we have agreement as a board. So no, it
Okay,
has not been released.
yeah, I was just confused because Dana had mentioned that he saw something for 40 hours.
Yeah,
So
it's
thank you
on
for
the, it's on the
thank you for-
document that we're proposing tonight. It says 40 hours.
Yeah, the job description that we circulated says 4 hours.
Oh, I must have missed that. So anyhow, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you for clarifying that, sir.
So may I ask a question then, if on the document, the, with the job description, right? So we would maybe instead of saying, and just say salary range 65 to 75, right? Instead of saying on this document that's going to be put out there along with, you know, it'll be posted somewhere, I assume, along with the ad, but so it would say salary range, and we'll remove anticipated hiring, those words, and then we'll take out the discussed range and those numbers, right? For posting purposes.
Right.
Okay. All right. So do we want to, Mike, do you want a motion on that salary range?
Well-
Or what? You're on mute, Mike.
The wrong button. I think that's such an important point. I think we should get a vote on it and then dig to the rest of the document. So do I have a motion to discuss for the posting, the new VSO posting, to have that salary range listed initially on the posting document as 65 to 75,000.
I'll second
So
that.
moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so motion by Doug, seconded by Dana. And we have to do roll call votes. Because we're on
Yes, you
Zoom.
do.
So could I have a roll call? Mr. Ross,
I agree, concur.
Ms. Andrew, Alexon,
Yes, I vote yes.
Mr. Packer,
Yes.
Mr. Dawes,
Does aye.
and Flynn, aye. Okay. Great.
Do we, Sherry?
I'm sorry, Sherry. I started at the wrong end. Sherry? You're on mute.
Now she's on mute. I don't think she was on mute. There
How's
she
that,
is.
Sherry?
She has to do her telephone, so press star 6.
My dog's barking. I'll be right back.
Hello, can you
Hi,
hear me?
Sherry.
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
yes, I'm a yes vote. I'm in agreement with that.
Okay, so the motion carries. Terrific.
okay.
So maybe, in the interest of time, are there other points in the document that people would like to discuss or that are contentious? Maybe we just throw the rest of the document open. I think the salary was the most difficult point, but are there things, this document, I attempted to capture everyone's comments. There was a few redundancies, but I'll just throw the rest of the document out. Are there any big points that the board would like to discuss?
Mr. Chair, I do.
Okay, Doug, please.
Under qualifications, third bullet point. Is everybody there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Doug.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. One, is a bachelor's degree required?
If you were to look up the VSO rules and requirements, the answer to that is no.
Thank you.
So,
So if it's not required, then why do we even have it in there? The reason I say that,
Well, it says,
let me
it
explain
says
myself.
it's
first.
preferred.
Yeah, but that is going to be misleading to some candidates, maybe. Because I don't have a college degree, but I'm more than capable of doing a VSO's position. Not that I want to, but I'm more than capable of it. So, and I don't want to have people that may have those qualifications to look at that and go and misinterpret what's being said. So if it's not preferred, I think I had suggested, college preferred or some college preferred. That makes it less drastic. But I think sometimes people might read something and interpret it a different way, even though it uses the word preferred.
Doug, if I may, what if we put the bachelor degrees in administration business at the end as preferred? It started with 2 years of full-time work experience or equivalent combination of education and work experience, and then finished with that. So we didn't lead with the bachelor's degree.
Well, you can, or you can just say after preferred, but not necessary.
Okay. How does the board feel about the not necessary comment?
No, I'd rather just leave it as saying is preferred. I mean, I think that says it, that it's preferred but not required, but I don't really think that has to be changed.
I have to agree with Linda.
I agree with Linda also. And saying that it's not, that it's preferred, and then saying, but it's not necessary, you're saying the same thing twice.
I think if you put in the words, but it's not necessary, that's kind of to me, that's kind of it's not a positive message, right? I mean, I think by just, or it's duplicative in a sense that we're saying it's preferred, we're not saying it's required. So I don't think we need to justify the fact that it's not required.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Well, I think it may be preferred. I understand it. It may be preferred, but if it's not required, then why do we even have it in there?
Well, I guess as a board, I'm sorry, Linda.
Sorry, I just think it's important to have that in there. I mean, we would probably prefer somebody that had a bachelor's degree for a variety of reasons. But, we're not specifying what that degree needs to be in. I mean, we have a couple of examples there, administration, business, or social work. And again, it says preferred, so that we're not requiring it, but I think it says everything it needs to say.
Can I ask?
Well, you and I will have to agree to. We'll have to disagree to disagree on that. Agree to disagree. I don't. If it's not necessary or not required, then we don't need to put it in there. Because it really does eliminate people when you turn around and say a degree in administration, business, or social work. I mean, I know people that are heavily invested in the veterans community that don't have degrees. That would be more than qualified to be in this position. I would just haggle here. If it's not required, then why do we bother putting it in?
I agree that some of the best people I've worked with have not had a college degree. That being said, I think the concept is if the right person didn't have a degree but was the gold medalist in the process, I would hire someone personally without a college degree if they had all the other attributes and were the star candidate. I think in the process, that would come out. Would you be comfortable, Doug, if we strengthen the end of the sentence? Non-college degree applicants will be considered, or is that?
That's worse than saying not required.
I would suggest that we leave it as is. It does say preferred, it doesn't say required.
The
So
issue
I'm
is
fine.
I don't want people to be eliminated in their heads just because they saw the term bachelor's degree in administration, social work, and whatever the other was.
But
You know,
people that are
I-
looking for these,
If
people
I-
that are
if I-
looking for
if I
jobs
may.
understand what that means. That it's preferred.
May I interject something real quick?
I'm not on mute.
If it's, I kind of agree with Doug in the verbiage. And I think that it starts right out with bachelor's degree in administration. Some people like myself don't ever finish the whole sentence. You know, so maybe we should reword that particular bullet and don't start it with bachelor's degree in administration, but start out with preferred, you know, we would prefer blank, 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 blank. And then maybe it would just kind of spin it a little bit to show that, because I agree with Doug, it totally, you know, I happen to be an officer and I happen to have went to college, but there's a gazillion veterans out there that are enlisted and they're totally qualified for the job. And I certainly do not want to put myself, you know, higher than anybody else or whatever, just because of my rank or my education or whatever. I would probably be a horrible VSO. So I agree with this whole concept. It's a good discussion. You know, it really is. That's all I got.
So Danny, your concept is not to lead with bachelor's degree, but lead with the 2 years of similar full-time experience. But I'm also hearing from the board that the concept of bachelor's degree is important. What if we flip-flopped it and led with the 2 years of similar full-time experience, and then the bachelor's degree is preferred, and take out the administration and those other concepts as a compromise?
So are you suggesting that we start it with, all right, what about this? 2 years of similar full-time work experience? Are we,
Or combination of education and work experience.
wait a minute, do we want that 2 years of full-time, of similar full-time work experience to be a requirement, and then the bachelor's degree is preferred?
Well, we are saying
Well, we certainly want somebody with experience in dealing with veterans and their families.
Mass state law must certainly have a minimum qualification requirements for this job. I don't know if you know, we have to list that, because I would imagine that most people that are going to apply for this job are going to know what the minimum qualifications are. So I don't know if we even, I mean, if you want to start out with that and then move into what we would prefer, I think it would look better on the document than starting right out with bachelor's degree in administration or whatever.
You know, this isn't really, this is sort of an offshoot as I'm looking at this list, but I think education, experience, and the driver's license requirements, those should probably go at the end anyway, because the qualifications talk more about, you know, the job itself. And then,
I'm sorry, Linda, you think the driver's license should go down towards the bottom?
yeah, that should be at the bottom.
Okay.
You know, a lot of these other duties are I'm sorry, a lot of these other qualifications are more about their abilities and proficiency to do things. I think the education and the driver's license are sort of stuck in the middle there. Those could go at the end. That's just as I'm looking at the list, trying to figure out how to reword that one bullet point. So do we know, does the board want to require the 2 years of similar full-time experience? And then the bachelor's degree being preferred?
Linda, I agree that we need to have some type of work experience. And that should be a requirement. I still don't know why we need to even, you can say bachelor's degree or plus or something. I don't know. It's just that I just don't see what the necessity of it is or why it's important. If it's not needed. I mean, is it that it just adds some type of embellishment to the job description?
Well, I guess the question, Doug, you're asking, is a bachelor's degree preferred in this situation? If it is, then I agree. I hear the board is saying, don't lead with that. But if you had two candidates with equal experience and equal motivation, and one had its degree, one had their degree and one did not, you know, I think
I don't want to go there.
I think the degree is a positive, but I would not throw anyone out who did not have a bachelor's degree that was a good candidate. So the
Okay, yeah. I'm just, you understand, I'm just trying to get a handle on the necessity of it. That's all.
so
And I think I had put it into my original document before I went away.
right, and Doug, I think the concept of preferred was put in there, but I didn't wipe it out completely. So your edit did get in there. So what I'm hearing is, for that bullet, would we lead with that 2 years of similar full-time experience, but as a compromise, still keep the bachelor's degree preferred at the end? Is that an acceptable compromise to wash this bullet, clean this bullet up? I'm throwing it out for board discussion.
Yeah, hey, Mike, so I saw the one that you sent, that the Lexington one, and it said college degree preferred, and it didn't, because it could be an associate's degree, because a lot of enlisted, they get an associate's degree. Even officers, they can come in as an officer, have an associate's degree, but by the time they reach captain, they have to get their bachelor's degree. You have to send them back to civil school, and if needed. So, I mean, I think the bachelor kind of jumps out at folks. I agree. And if we just want to have some type of education, that we want to just put the word college degree preferred, put it somewhere in there, versus a bachelor's degree, because an associate is just as good. And as Doug said, and if they don't have anything, then that's just as good too, if they're qualified for the job. But the bachelor kind of jumps out. I do agree with that. But the word college kind of tampers it down, because it can be an associate's, it could be a bachelor, it could be a master's, it could be, you could have whatever you want, but it's less intrusive, I think.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
How does the rest of the board feel about that?
Okay, so maybe, thank you, Michael, for sending this. I'm looking at it now. Maybe we could even copy this one that was in the Lexington one, because I think that sort of covers what we were looking for.
So to be clear, Linda, that is right there.
It says degree preferred with 2 years of increasingly responsible human services experience or equivalent combination of education and work experience. I'd be satisfied with that.
Yeah, that sounds good, with the or equivalent experience.
Okay,
equivalent combination of education and work experience, right? I would say that
Yes.
we take that right out of Lexington's and put that in ours.
Mike, I concur with that.
Yeah, I do too.
okay, so just to be clear, our 2 years of similar work time experience will become the Lexington College degree preferred with 2 years of increasing responsibility of human services. I think it's well written, so I will cut that in for the next turn of the document.
Okay.
Okay, any other strong discussions or bullet point comments that people want to have regarding contents of the description?
Well, that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Sherry,
May I? Oh,
Linda, go ahead, please.
so at the very end of this particular document where it says application process, this isn't the application or anything. I'm wondering if we need that last section. It says all applicants are required to submit a cover letter and resume to ... We don't have that address yet, but Mike and I can probably speak to that after we're done with this. Resumes may be attached to the application. That I don't think we need in the job description. I don't know, I'm asking. Because I'm trying to get a handle on what
I
exactly.
agree with you, Linda. I don't think that needs to be in there because earlier in the document, it gave under working conditions, frequent light physical effort required to perform duties, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't really need to
I think we
put that
can
in.
take that whole section at the end out about
Right.
application process. Because that will end up in the advertisement.
You're talking about the bolded. Oops. Yeah, you're talking about the bolded paragraph, right? Linda?
Yeah, where it says application process, yeah, because that will be in the advertisement itself. This is the job description.
Okay.
And then also we can for purposes of this new hiring procedure and having this job description, I think we can take out the signature line for the employee and date received.
I agree with that.
Yeah, true.
But Linda, in Ipswich, do you have to fill out a general document? Karen, I think a lot of that came from the Lexington document. Is there a general sort of name, address, all those other things, a general form that has to go in?
Yeah,
Does
like
it happen in Ipswich?
yeah, so I think, and this is, our HR director is coming back from leave soon. She'll be back, I believe, next week. So I haven't spoken to her, but I think for our board, if we simply want to take resumes and cover letter, I don't know what was done, Karen, when you were hired, what your application process was. Do you recall if you had to fill out a paper application form too, or did you just submit a resume with a cover letter?
No, I think I had to load the Ipswich application and
Okay,
then submit a cover letter and a resume.
okay, all right. I did not know. I don't work in HR here, so I don't know what the process.
In my other lives, that other document is important. There's a number of acknowledgements, there's a number of just basic stuff for tax purposes and for getting the getting everything going with payroll and I know my HR folks really value that hard piece of paper with, it's 2 or 3 pages, but like 6 or 7 departments use it. So
Okay,
maybe we ask your HR person when she comes back from maternity next week, Linda, if she, if that facilitates things.
yeah, I know there's a form on the Ipswich website, and I think we're sort of digressing to the process before we finish with the job description. Are we pretty much done with that? Do we?
Are there
I have a
any questions on the document or edits? Dana?
Yeah, on Karen Tyler, on your original help wanted, the original position, it says the Eastern Essex Department of Veteran Services seeks qualified candidates for a full-time exempt position of Veteran Service Director. What does that mean? What did that mean back then?
It means I get to work a lot more than 35 hours and I get the same salary.
And be happy with it.
That's what that means.
I love that. Okay, all right. See, I picked up on that like right away, and I'm like, what does a full-time exempt position mean? So, okay, all right. You answered my question.
Easiest question.
That's all I got.
Are there any other points that such as this on the document? I've been catching things pretty well in our discussions and have a black line here. But is there anything else content-wise that people want to discuss? Okay, Linda, you wanted to talk about process a little bit?
Do we want to approve this document first, or do you want to wait or subject to your conversation with Tim Zessen to make sure that we cover all the legal language?
I think we should approve it if people are comfortable, and then let Tim bless what the board has gotten comfortable with. Subject to Tim's legal tweaks. I think that's an important step. And again, as I said at the beginning of the call, I would like to get this moving sooner than later. Because the sooner we get going, the sooner we can get someone to fill Karen's able shoes. So.
Okay. So I will make a motion, if I might, to approve the Veteran Services Director job description as revised tonight, subject to council's recommended language for legal purposes.
Second.
Let's take a roll call. All in favor, I'll start with Sherry.
She's on mute. Oh, there she is.
Yes.
Good. Ron,
Agree. Concur.
Linda,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Doug,
Dawes, aye.
Flynn, I as well. So the motion passes. Terrific.
Okay. So, Michael, do you want to talk briefly about our meeting with the Ipswich Town Manager the other day, or last week, I guess it was?
Yeah, Linda and I had a very brief call with the Ipswich correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, the town manager. Because this will be posted on our 6 websites, we thought it was important to have a central point where the funnel comes together. And Stephen, who is filling in for the HR director in Ipswich, was kind enough to give us some kind advice. And the process that he suggested was to have a central point where the resumes are submitted. The board that is going to review them will then have the ability to collect them and review them and talk to the folks. So it was a very helpful meeting, but Linda and Stephen Crane were very kind enough to offer Ipswich's HR services to help facilitate this process. And my one concern, and I mentioned this to Linda, is with 6 towns having this, flowing through 6 towns for submission doesn't seem to make sense. One point of the funnel seems to be a better point and less things falling through the cracks. So Linda, what did I miss? It was a very helpful conversation. It was very generous of your town's organization.
Sure. So as Michael said, Stephen, who is our town manager, has been sort of filling as best he can, the HR office while our HR director is out. She's coming back soon, I believe next week. But what would happen, and I think I'm explaining this, I hope I'm explaining this right. So the advertisement will direct people, it'll be posted on all 6 towns' websites, as well as other places. You know, I'm sure there's veterans organizations, Karen, maybe with the state or someplace that we can post as well. But the ad itself will say to apply, similar to what Karen sent us. It'll be to the town of Ipswich. It'll direct people to the town of Ipswich's HR site, where they will find the application form. And resumes that might be sent in would be sent to, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think the address is hr@ipswichma.gov, something like that. And if anybody's watching this meeting, don't send it there yet, because I'm not sure that's the exact email address, but it'll be something similar to that. And even though it will be posted in all of our towns, as well as, you know, other places outside of our towns, it will direct people to the Ipswich Human Resources website and the HR director's email. So they will all go to one place. And I believe that the HR director will then collect those resumes and forward them to maybe to Michael as chair of this board, or, you know, maybe to me to send to our screening committee.
To the screening committee, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's how this process is going to work.
Are there any other sort of general process comments that other members of the board would like to discuss, improve? Any clarifications on that general, you know, how do we get the word out there? How do we collect the resumes? Any other input? Karen, was this similar to what you went through when you were hired?
Yes. Yeah. So when I applied and got hired, it went through the Ipswich HR department. Jen Breaker was there at the time, and she
Okay.
was very involved helping out the board throughout the process.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Michael, but I think I missed the meeting where the screening committee was appointed. And who was on that?
Well, I believe it's yourself, Linda. It's
Did I
Dana.
get?
That's right. That's what you get for not showing up. And Doug. Is that correct?
It was Doug, Ron, and Linda.
I'm sorry. It was Doug, Ron, and Linda.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, my only question is how quick before we get this thing here posted? Because every day that goes by
Right.
is adding on to this timeline, and before we know it, because I'm assuming if someone gets hired, they have to leave their job just like Karen did, has to give a 2-week notice. And I mean, this thing can really get pushed out far, and, you know, relying on other VSOs, that's going to get old real fast. I believe that's just my personal opinion, especially with, you know, the stuff that goes on, and we all get our VA updates on everything. And then the PACT Act was, it was extended another week, and, you know, the can keep getting kicked down the road. And because it's a 2-week process, right? From the time we post it to closing it, and then
2 weeks
everything
minimum.
there. Or 2 weeks minimum. And I think when we talked about it, the 2 weeks was what we wanted to go with. That's more than enough time for people to be applying for this here. But again, the quicker, the faster, and then, you know, the interview process, we just got to get this thing, we got to get this thing posted ASAP, in my personal
Well,
opinion.
Ron, I agree with you. The sooner the better. I would like to have a document, a cleaned document out to everyone tonight. Let one more set of eyes, anything that doesn't capture what we discussed tonight. We can look at that. But with the HR department getting back sometime next week, I would hope to have my conversation with Tim in the next day or so. Let him make sure there's no legal issues with this document or things we should post or any additional Massachusetts guidelines that need to go in here. And I think Linda, your HR department will be helpful with that. But I'd love to see it go live on Monday, early next week. But I agree with you, Ron, 100%. The sooner the better. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so I think that the last piece of this we need to do is take a look at the advertisement itself and make any tweaks to that. And then next week, after you've spoken with Tim and we have the correct language in the job description, and once the ad has been approved by this board, then when I have the go-ahead from you, Michael, I can give the advertisement and the job description to our HR person.
Right.
And
Linda, your HR person, though, helps translate it to the advertisement. Is that correct?
they will post it. I don't know the mechanics of it, but I believe they will post it on the Ipswich website, and then I don't know how to get it to the other towns in the district for their HR website.
But when we say advertisement, my understanding is the advertisement was substantively what we've just talked about tonight. Am I off on that?
Well, that's the job description,
Right.
unless I was mistaken, but the ad itself is much shorter. And it says in the advertisement at the end, complete job description is available at, and we have to fill in the blank, which would be the Ipswich website when I figure out from HR what to put in there.
Okay.
So people would be able to, they'll see this brief advertisement, and if they're interested, they'll go to the Ipswich website and pull up the job. They'll find the job description and they'll find the application.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
If I may, doesn't this, and Karen Tyler would know this, doesn't this have to go on the MMA, the Massachusetts? Isn't that the official place where we advertise this job?
It's not required, but
It's not required.
no, it's not required, but it's a good place to put it because people who are looking to work in the public sector, that's the place where they would look. And it's just an additional place to get it out to the general public.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there
So-
because I think that would be a good official place to start. And then even from there, you can funnel it to Ipswich. And as far as the individual towns go, I know that we just lost our IT guy. So, I don't even, I think that all you would need on each individual town is just a link to link you either to the MMA page or to the Ipswich town hall page where you
Well,
could go.
I think whichever way, certainly MMA. That's why I said earlier, it'll be, my expectation is that it will be posted on each of our town's websites as well as whatever other, regional or state websites that, are available. But it will all, in the ad, it will say, that the application's available at, and it gives the link. So whoever reads the ad and is interested, they'll go to that link, they'll get the application there, they'll get the job description there. That's how I see it working. But the point is to get the advertisement onto all 6 towns as well as MMA, for example. I don't know if there's a particular VSO, outlet.
Yeah,
for
I would take
advertising.
care of that.
Yeah.
I won't be here. Karen will take care of it.
So we need to update this advertisement. get that ready. So it'll be like a package, right? There'll be the shorter advertisement. We have the job description approved. And then once we have that, we can fill in. Next week, we'll be able to, when Mary's back, I can get that information. We can plug that into the advertisement and then send it out to the various places it needs to go. But I think it would be helpful if all of you folks could maybe send me your HR manager or your contact so that we can email this information to them and they can put it up on your websites. Because we can't do that. We can't, I don't believe Ipswich could post to Newberry's website, for example, you know what I mean? So we would need your contact folks.
Yeah, the other way of doing it is when you get the whole package together, you can email us the links. And like, for example, I would work through my town administrator, you know, she's the boss. So that's where I would begin. And then she would disseminate it where it needs to go to get put on our town website.
Okay, so that makes sense. So once this is finalized and we have, I can plug in the email address and the links, then I will send it to the rest of you folks for you to forward to your town administrators or HR or whoever needs to post it.
Yep.
That
That'll
works
work for me.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody?
Ron, the way your question started is, yes, the sooner the better. If we could get this, those little pieces done tomorrow, I'd like to get them done tomorrow.
Okay, I don't know that I'm gonna have that information tomorrow.
Right, I'm saying as soon as possible.
Right. Well, it hinges too, Michael, on you speaking with Tim Zesson and making sure that we're all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Okay, are there any other questions on this description or the job process, the posting process? Anything else that we should discuss as a board?
Yes, so the health one, the advertisement itself, I think we made some changes to the job description. Do we want to change anything in this ad as well? I think pretty much it's okay, but it's still saying bachelor's degree, blah, blah, blah. So we might want to take that sentence out and.
Yeah, you're right. The ad should, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The ad should correspond with the job description for certain.
Yes.
Okay.
Other than that, I mean, aside from changing that and then plugging in the appropriate links for submitting. I think it's probably okay.
I do have a question. Oops.
No, go ahead, Doug.
The ad would run for 14 days?
Minimum of 14 days.
Or how long?
Minimum 14 days.
Okay.
And I guess the market will tell how long. If we get qualified candidates in the first 2 weeks.
Right.
As a group, we should discuss it. And we see started with bullet, but I think the evaluation committee will know how it's going after that first batch of resumes.
Sure, we can always renew the ad. So.
Yeah.
I have another question. If we are advertising outside of our towns, like for instance, the MMA, if there are expenses incurred with that, I don't know if they charge to advertised. But does anybody know anything about that?
I haven't done it in a little while, but it's not much. I think it's like $60 or something.
Okay, all right.
Not
So
a-
I assume we would, if and when we get invoices for that, I mean, I can assure, I can let HR know that the board will approve any costs associated with advertising.
Right, right.
I
Okay.
If they-
do have a question. I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
Chair.
go ahead, Doug. Go ahead, Doug.
I do have a question that had popped into my head some time ago and it just popped back in. And that is, do we want to consider applicants that are residents of the district, or will we be taking applications from people outside the district also?
I personally don't think we need to limit it to, I think we put the ad out there and see who applies. I don't think I want to put that qualification on that about residency.
Yeah, I was just curious. Because sometimes some government positions require residency. I was just throwing that out there.
I mean, obviously, if somebody lives in Western Mass, I don't think that, unless they're planning to move to the area, you know what I mean? I don't think that would really be a viable situation.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I just threw it out there just for a point of discussion is all.
I agree. I think, we want that funnel as broad as possible, but if someone does have a 3-hour commute, that obviously impacts their effectiveness. So, but I would agree not to limit it to the districts.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you.
Okay.
Oh,
I think that would all just be a part of the interview process also. It's like if somebody lives in Colorado and they want to do this, it's like, well, all right, how are you going to make this work? Explain to us how you're going to make it work. So
Right.
I certainly think we should open up to anybody that's qualified, and then during the interview process, we'll discuss about commuting and where you're going to live and how are you going to manage it and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, agreed. So is everybody, I just want to make sure before we end this meeting that everybody's okay with the help wanted ad, except for, we're going to change that part about the bachelor's degree to make it consistent with the job description.
Yeah, I agree, Linda. I think that's all that needs to be changed in there, because the other part will be the link, as you said, which the HR person will add into there. And other than that, it's generic enough that it hits all the key points of what a VSO we're looking for. And I think it meets the mail by far.
Okay.
Are there any other points associated with the process, with the document that we want to discuss as a board? Are there any other items not anticipated before scheduling the agenda that the board wishes to discuss?
No, I just want to be clear, Michael, we approved everything else by vote. Did you want to approve the advertisement or no? Man,
I am fine with the concept of that's captured, but why don't we go around and have a vote for the advertisement as discussed this evening with the edits as discussed.
If I may, okay, I'll second that, but I have a discussion about it, and that is, I don't know if I've seen the advertisement. Is that in one of our emails somewhere?
Yeah, when Karen initially sent out the document, she sent both the advertisement and she sent the job description, and then she sent out the document again as a reminder to us to review to try to get this out a little quicker. So yes, it's in several emails. You'll see from Karen. It's there.
Dana, if you want, I can read it really quickly. It's brief.
Yeah. Please do.
We do that one just for transparency.
Yeah, okay, so it says, the Eastern Essex Department of Veterans Services seeks qualified candidates for a full-time exempt position of Veterans Services Director, quote, VSD. The position delivers essential services to veterans and eligible dependents living within the Eastern Essex District. The VSD accepts applications and makes initial determinations of eligibility, meets with and provides assistance to veterans and their dependents. Candidates should be able to interpret and explain federal and state benefits, programs, and legislation to interested groups and potential benefits recipients, and have excellent interpersonal, written, and oral communication skills. Bachelor's degree, we're going to take that out, replace it with the other language that we approved tonight. Must be a veteran pursuant to MGL Chapter 4, Section 7. Reports to the Eastern Essex Department of Veterans Services Board of Directors. Complete job description is available at blank, competitive salary dependent on qualifications, DOQ it says. And then it says to apply, please submit a completed Town of Ipswich application, blah, blah, blah. I guess reading it like that, I might suggest that where it's in the second sentence where it says the position delivers essential services to veterans and eligible dependents living within the Eastern Essex District, I might say that we add the names of the towns, maybe in parentheses, because nowhere in.
Yeah, that's a good point, because some people won't even know what it is. So I concur with that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so maybe we add, after the word district, we'll just put our 6 towns in parentheses so they know the geographical area and what towns they would be servicing.
Agreed.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to approve the job description as read and discussed by Linda for posting and use in the new VSO position?
So I'll make that motion, but it's the actual advertisement, not the job description.
Okay,
And we'll add the names of the towns within that, and we will also change the bachelor's degree
With
sentence
appropriate changes, right?
to be
Right.
consistent with what we discussed earlier. So I make that motion.
So moved. I mean, second.
could I have a roll call vote? Sherry?
Aye.
Okay, Ron?
Concur.
Linda?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Doug?
Dawes, aye.
And Flynn, aye. Okay.
So Michael, if you want, I'll edit that document when we hang up here and I'll send it to you, the advertisement, just so that you have it. And I still need to talk to HR on Monday or Tuesday when she's back and get the stuff to plug in and figure out where we're going to send it for advertising.
Good.
So,
Okay, terrific. With that, I do not see any other items on the agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Linda?
yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Doug?
Dawes, aye.
And Flynn, aye. So thank you all for your time. This greatly facilitates this effort, and we'll move this forward with all urgency.